And welcome to the European Parliament in Brussels for Talking Europe. Women make up 51% of the world's population, and gender equality is a core EU value. But in reality, the deficit of women in European politics is obvious. On average, only a quarter of national parliament seats are filled by women. Meanwhile, on the social front, the proposed reform of the abortion law in Spain is seen by many as a significant step back. Some fear the move heralds a new era of conservative policies towards women. As the world celebrates Women's Day on the 8th of March, I've invited a panel of women, all members of the European Parliament. Isabelle Durant, welcome to Talking Europe. You're a Belgian MEP from the group of the Greens. Women make up 40% of the Belgian Parliament. It's one of the highest rates. You'll tell us why. Also with us, Adina-Iona VALEAN. You're from Romania. You're from the Alliance of Liberals and Democrats.
That's right.
Regarding the participation of women in politics, you are lagging behind, but there is worse than Romania. Cyprus, Eleni TEOCHAROUS, welcome to Talking Europe. In your country, only 10% of MPs are women. You're from the European People's Party. Why is it that so few women enter politics in Cyprus?
In the previous term, there were more women, around 18 to 20%. At the time, we were only 3 women in the national parliament. It goes like that. There is a deficit, and I believe that it's not a matter of discrimination against women, but a system of hierarchy which works and prohibits women. Not tradition. It was, at the time it was tradition, but currently I believe that the party's system, the way the women are being chosen by the political parties is not the proper. So I think we have to support the representation of women with all means and to give them the chance to present the policies of
all means. Isabelle Durant, Belgium is a very interesting country. You've made a tremendous effort. As I said, 40% of MPs in Belgium are women. How did you achieve that?
It's very simple and very easy. It's because we have a law, and in this law there is an obligation to have a woman and a man on the 2 first places on the list, and 50% men.
When running in an election.
That's absolutely. So it means your list is not accepted if it's not the case. It means that in the past, the women were on the baddest place, on the baddest seats on the list. Now they are obliged to have this alternance on for the 2 first seats or the 2 first place. And it means that obviously and naturally the women are, of course, more or less 40% in all the parliament in Belgium, because we know that we have 7 parliaments in Belgium.
Right.
But in each parliament it's maybe 50%. I think that it's a good law, and I hope that in the future we will have a stronger law with a real alternance: 1 woman, 1 man, 1 woman, 1 man on all the lists.
That's very tempting. Why doesn't Romania apply that kind of law?
I don't think it is an ongoing debate in Romania about the number of the gender balance in lists. For my party, which is a liberal one, we believe in competition. It's not like women are discriminated against. Just to give you an example, we are 5 Romanian MEPs in the liberal group, and we used to be 4 out of 5 women. So it's more than 50%. By the other way around, in the national parliament, of course...
13% only in your national parliament. You are
in
against
all
quotas.
Political groups.
You don't believe that quotas are helpful?
Well, I don't oppose necessarily quotas. I myself don't feel the need for that. I do believe in... I mean, statistics doesn't show much, because both things have to be taken into consideration. The willingness of the women to get involved, and also the quality of representation, because it's not necessarily like women are representing women and men are representing men, and that's why we should be 51 as it is the percentage at European level. You might have less than 50% women, but stronger or in a better position or more representative for topics than 50% of women on a list, and their strengths or power of representation to be lower. So less a quantity, but more a quality of representation would stand for.
We are approaching key European elections. When I look at the European Parliament, 35% of MEPs are women. You know most of them. You work with them on a daily basis. If Europe wants to show the example, surely the European Parliament should have 50% of women, 50% of men.
Yeah, it could be a good development, but it's not the only thing we could expect from the new European Parliament. I mean that in our Parliament we have the low representation you referred before, but in the European Parliament we are the 1/3 of the Cypriot representatives. I know that in the Nordics, in Scandinavia, although they implement the same law as you said, they have more or less 35 to 38%.
And that's acceptable?
Yeah, that's acceptable. But for me, this is not the point. Personally, I would never accept a positive discrimination or a quota for myself. I believe that it's better if we fight, if we present our political positions, if we convince the people that we are the best of the best, and then win the vote.
You don't want quotas. Isabelle Durant.
Yes, but I have a question to my colleague. Why the women have to fight in order to obtain a seat or a place on a list and not a man? Why?
The men have to fight as well. Why? Who says
it's easier for them. If there is no rule, it's spontaneously the men are thinking, they feel competent and they feel done for political life, and the women not.
This is true also for a lot of women. So I personally know a lot of women in politics which I don't appreciate, and a lot of men I appreciate.
Yes, of course.
We won't argue. Isabelle Durant, on the business front, things are even worse. Women only represent 16% of board members in Europe. That's a shocking rate when you think that 60% of university graduates are women. How do you explain this?
I think that is because, of course, it's a difficult life. You have to be involved all the time, so that is the question with the familial life, etc. But the first, I think the first reason is that it's a men atmosphere in this board of companies. They are not. They have not the reaction in order to look for women in the board. It's not natural. It's a world of men, and I think that we have to change it. And if we want to change it, of course, we need some rules. And we have a campaign in the European Parliament and with Mrs. Reding, the Commissioner, to keep 40% of the women in the board of the big society. I think the big companies, we have to do it. There are women in the central bank. It's a scandal, a shame. We don't have the capacity to have only one woman. That's incredible. So I think that it's because they don't look for women.
Well, in December, Spanish Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy's cabinet approved a bill that would reverse the current abortion law and would be one of the most restrictive in Europe. The move sparked a wave of protest in Spain and beyond. Let's watch our report.
So far, all attempts to block the new abortion bill have failed. Earlier this month, the Socialist Party organised a secret vote, hoping to divide the ruling Popular Party on the issue. But the challenge was defeated, as Conservative MPs all voted according to party guidelines. Abortion on demand was introduced in Spain by a law passed by the Socialists in 2010. Women can abort whenever they choose, up to 14 weeks into a pregnancy, or up to 22 weeks into the pregnancy if they are at risk or the fetus shows signs of severe deformities. If the new bill becomes law, women won't be allowed to terminate a pregnancy at an early stage, except in cases of rape or when their health is at risk. Those who seek abortion will need approval from 2 independent doctors. Women under 18 will require parental consent and will have to go to consultations accompanied by their parents. Discussions go on in Parliament as people continue to protest against the new bill. According to a recent poll published in El País, almost 90% of the population is against this reform. Protests have spread to other European countries, with large demonstrations taking place in Paris and Brussels. And the European Parliament has urged the Spanish government to scrap the bill.
It's up to the Spanish people to decide in accordance with their laws. But women must have the right to make their own choices when it comes to their health and reproductive rights. In the end, it's up to the women to decide if and when they want to have an abortion.
The bill will be subject to more discussions in Parliament before being written into law.
All eyes on Spain, but some will tell you there is more than Spain. There is a conservative trend, a return to conservative values across Europe. Is that something that you feel in your native Romania?
Well, I wouldn't say that conservative values are necessarily a bad thing. And if you look in terms of morals and tradition and family, why not? I mean, if some societies choose to stick to these values, it's up to them to do so. In Romania, even though there is a majority of population who would look towards, let's say, towards the church, there is not a general feeling of a need to do more in this respect. On abortion topic in particular, I would say such a topic could not go back in Romania, because during the communist times, abortion was forbidden in my country. It was against the law. And a lot of women lost their lives and a lot of tragedy happened. So one of the immediately earned rights in our democracy back in '89 was the right to abortion. It is considered a right, but it's not necessarily a fundamental right. So the society won't go back towards considering abortion illegal back, so no. No way.
What do you think, Isabelle Durant? Do you notice that there is a conservative mood in Europe at the moment, and that Spain is not a one-off?
Absolutely, I feel it. I feel it also in my country.
Belgium, even
yes,
Belgium,
there is
known as a liberal country.
Absolutely, but there is some movement in order to change or to limit the rights of the women. So I think that it's...
Where does it come from?
Where? Because we are maybe in a world with mondialization, with all, maybe the people are a little bit afraid what can happen. It's a too free world, also with internet and the capacity or the possibility for the people to have access to all the images, the pictures, the information, etc. So you have some conservative reaction. I think that we have to defend, of course, the right for the women and also the necessity to have an assistance, medical and also psychological assistance for the women. And I think that on European level, we have, I do prefer a legal framework on European level. Otherwise, you have a competition between the women in Europe, and it means that only the women in capacity to travel will go to France or to Romania or I don't know where in order to obtain an abortion. So I think that we have to have the same rights for all the women.
Cyprus is one of the only 2 member states, along with Malta, that still bans abortion. Are things going to move in your country?
Yeah, well, abortion is illegal in Cyprus. There was only a short period of time in which the abortion, the termination of a pregnancy became legal after the Turkish invasion, when we faced an enormous number of pregnancies due to rapes of the women of the country those days. But personally, I believe that it depends on the individual to decide if, depending on her moral standards, if she is going to proceed to abortion or not, because we are talking about the women of the rights of the woman, but we have also the rights of the child. But if a woman, my personal opinion, if a woman decides to proceed to abortion, then she has, she needs to have all the protection and for a safe termination of the pregnancy. So coming back to the position of Mrs. Durant, it's not only for the rich women, the wealthy women who can travel to the next state and get a safe abortion.
Well, it's time to bring in our partner, Tim King, editor of European Voice, a weekly newspaper on European news. Tim, welcome to Talking Europe. You've been listening to our programme, women's rights, abortion more specifically. The European Parliament obviously has heavily criticised the position of Mariano Rajoy, the Spanish government, but the European Parliament can't decide everything, can it?
No, at European Union level, what has happened over the years has been some attempt to enshrine certain rights, and gender rights and gender equality are some of those rights. Rights of people with disability and so on are others. But what strikes me listening to an explanation of different circumstances in Romania, Cyprus, Belgium, is you have a situation where, although a certain framework of rights may be fixed at European Union level, what you find across Europe is enormous differences in culture. Mm-hmm. And the European Union is not basically very good at pushing down top-down culture. Europe doesn't work like that. The wonderful thing about Europe is that it does have all these national and regional variations.
Is Europe becoming more conservative as a result of globalization, as a result of the economic crisis?
I think what's happening to some extent for the European Union level is that conservative voices are getting more skilled at getting their voices expressed at a European Union level. There may be a bit of catch-up on that because I think green organisations, for instance, I don't know whether you would agree with this, were better at thinking internationally. In some respects, there was a conservative international organisation, the Roman Catholic Church, but its conservatism varies, say, between Spain and Belgium. You'd get differences between liberal and conservative wings, and Malta and so on. So actually, I think conservatism may just be bubbling to the surface of the European Union.
We'll have to leave it there as we're running out of time. Thank you to all of you for taking part in this edition of Talking Europe. Please stay with me. I'll return just after the news break in about 10 minutes.